You want a simple technique? Here it is. And it's so simple, most men miss it because they're looking for shortcuts. The technique isn't a line, a trick, or a manipulative move. The technique is one thing: be present. Be the person who shows up, fully, clearly, honestly. That's the secret most people call chemistry. But chemistry starts with presence. Authenticity is the very foundation of attraction, influence, and connection. When you strip away the noise, the games, the masks that so many people wear, what remains is authenticity, and that is where real power lies. People crave the rawness of someone who is unapologetically themselves because it is rare in a world that constantly pushes us to conform. Authenticity is magnetic, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. It has flaws, it has edges, but it also has a deep sense of truth that others can feel without you needing to announce it. When you show up authentically, you allow others to relax and be themselves too, and that is the ultimate form of attraction. Think about it. How many people hide behind a version of themselves that isn't real? They pretend to like what they don't, they fake confidence they don't feel, and they speak words that sound good but carry no soul. At first, these tactics may work. They may grab attention for a moment. But what happens next? Sooner or later, people sense the inconsistency, the cracks between words and actions, and they pull away. Authenticity, on the other hand, leaves no cracks to fill. It is steady, grounded, and consistent. You don't have to worry about being found out because you are not acting, you are simply being. And that creates a sense of trust, which is far more valuable than any quick charm. Authenticity is not about oversharing or being brutally blunt without thought. It is about aligning your words, actions, and energy with who you truly are. If you are confident, own it. If you are shy, don't fake extroversion just to impress. Own your quiet strength. If you are passionate about something, let that passion show. Nothing is more powerful than a person who stands in their truth without apology. It communicates self-respect, and self-respect silently demands respect from others. That is the kind of energy that doesn't just catch attention, it holds it. Another layer to authenticity is vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It takes strength to be open about what you value, what you fear, or what you dream of. When you hide those things, you create a barrier that blocks intimacy and trust. But when you allow just enough vulnerability to show, people sense honesty. They sense you are not playing a role, but inviting them into your real world. And that invitation is something very few can resist. Authenticity makes vulnerability safe, and vulnerability makes connection possible. Authenticity also sets you apart because it cannot be copied. Anyone can imitate style, looks, or phrases, but no one can duplicate your essence, your energy, your perspective, your truth that belongs only to you. And when you embrace it fully, it becomes your strongest asset. You no longer need to chase validation because your value doesn't depend on external approval. You know who you are, and that certainty creates a natural pull. In the end, authenticity is not just a technique. It's a way of living that transforms how people see you and how you see yourself. When you choose authenticity first, you don't just attract others. You attract the right ones, the ones who are aligned with your truth. And that is the ultimate win. Respect and consent are the cornerstones of any meaningful interaction. They are not just nice words to say or social rules to follow. They are the foundation of trust, safety, and genuine connection. Without respect, every action feels shallow. Without consent, every effort to connect becomes forceful. When you build on respect and consent, you build something lasting because you honor not only the other person, but also yourself. People often forget that respect is not only shown in big gestures, but in the smallest details. How you listen, how you respond, how you acknowledge boundaries, and how you treat someone when they say no. These little moments reveal more about your character than any smooth line or impressive move ever could. Respect begins with recognizing the other person's humanity, not just their role in your life or what you want from them. It means valuing their feelings, opinions, and choices even when they do not match your own. It's easy to respect someone when they agree with you, but real respect is tested when they differ from you, when they challenge you, or when they set boundaries that don't serve your immediate desires. In those moments, respect means stepping back, listening, and allowing them to own their decisions without pressure or manipulation. That is where true strength lies. Consent goes even deeper because it is about choice. When you honor consent, you allow the other person to say yes or no freely, without fear of judgment, guilt, or consequence. And that freedom creates the most powerful attraction of all, because people are drawn to what they choose willingly, not to what they feel forced into. Consent is not just about physical intimacy. It's about every step of interaction, whether it's a conversation, a compliment, or time spent together. Asking, checking in, and being attuned to the other person's comfort level show that you value them not as an object to win over, but as an equal human being. The truth is, when you operate with respect and consent, you elevate yourself above the noise of those who play games or use manipulative tactics. You show integrity, and integrity is magnetic. It communicates that you are not desperate for attention. You are secure enough to allow someone the space to choose you on their own terms. That space builds comfort. Comfort builds trust, and trust creates the environment where real connection can grow. Respect and consent also reflect how you see yourself. If you don't respect yourself, you will struggle to respect others. But when you set boundaries for yourself and expect to be treated well, you naturally extend that same standard outward. It becomes mutual. This balance is powerful because it creates equality in relationships instead of imbalance. And equality is what transforms short-lived attraction into lasting bond. In the end, respect and consent are not rules you follow to avoid being wrong. They are practices that make you undeniably right. They show you value both yourself and the other person. And that value is the most attractive quality anyone can bring into a connection. Presence and attention are like oxygen in human connection. Without them, relationships suffocate. In a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and divided focus, being fully present has become rare. And that rarity is what makes it powerful. When you give someone your undivided attention, you send a silent but powerful message. You matter. Right now, nothing else is more important than this moment with you. That level of presence is magnetic because it is so uncommon, and people naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel seen and valued. Presence isn't just about being physically there, it's about being mentally, emotionally, and energetically tuned in. Too often, people sit across from each other but are lost in their phones, trapped in their own thoughts, or waiting for their turn to speak. That is not presence. It's proximity without connection. Real presence requires you to step out of your inner noise and fully immerse yourself in the moment. It is about listening without interruption, observing without judgment, and engaging with genuine curiosity. Attention is the tool that sustains presence. It means noticing the little details, the shift in tone, the pause between words, the way someone's eyes light up when they speak about something they love. These cues carry more meaning than the words themselves, and when you pay attention to them, you understand people on a deeper level. It's not about solving their problems or rushing to respond. It's about allowing them to feel understood, and feeling understood is one of the deepest human needs. Giving presence and attention doesn't just benefit the other person, it transforms you as well. It sharpens your awareness, strengthens your emotional intelligence, and deepens your patience. It also builds your influence because people naturally trust and respect those who make them feel valued. A man who can listen with full presence will always stand out in a world where most people are too distracted to hear beyond the surface. Presence also creates safety. When you are fully attentive, the other person feels they don't have to fight for space, prove their worth, or hide parts of themselves. This safety opens the door to vulnerability, and vulnerability is what creates true intimacy. The ability to be present allows someone to drop their guard because they sense that you are not just hearing them, you are with them. It is also important to understand that presence is not about grand gestures. It's about consistency in the smallest moments. Turning off your phone during a conversation, holding eye contact without making it uncomfortable, responding thoughtfully instead of automatically, these small acts add up. They create an energy of focus that most people never experience in daily interactions. At its core, presence and attention are a choice. You choose to slow down, to prioritize the moment, to silence distractions, and to give another person your full self for that slice of time. And that choice, simple as it sounds, has the power to transform not just how others see you, but how deeply they are drawn to you. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, interpret, and respond to emotions, both your own and those of others, in a way that builds connection instead of conflict. It is one of the most underestimated yet powerful qualities a person can possess. While many chase surface-level tactics to impress or influence others, emotional intelligence goes deeper. It allows you to connect with people where they truly live, in their feelings, thoughts, and unspoken needs. And when you reach that level, you become unforgettable because you are not engaging with someone's mask, you are engaging with their core. At the heart of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. You cannot read or respond to others effectively if you don't first understand your own emotions. Too often, people project their insecurities, fears, or frustrations onto others without realizing it. But when you are aware of your own triggers, patterns, and emotional states, you gain control. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. This shift alone changes how others perceive you, because you become steady instead of unpredictable. Steadiness builds trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. The next layer is empathy, the ability to sense and understand what another person is feeling. Empathy doesn't mean you have to agree with everything someone says, but it means you care enough to step into their shoes and see the world through their perspective. When you reflect someone's feelings back to them, whether it's joy, sadness, or frustration, they feel validated. Validation doesn't solve problems, but it creates the emotional safety that makes problem solving possible. This safety is rare, which is why empathy feels like a superpower in relationships. Emotional intelligence also involves regulation, the skill of managing your emotions in real time. Imagine someone becomes defensive, upset, or distant. A person without emotional intelligence might escalate the situation with anger or retreat in frustration. But a person with high emotional intelligence pauses, observes, and adapts. They remain calm, adjust their tone, and choose words that de-escalate instead of ignite. This doesn't just make interactions smoother, it makes you stand out as someone who carries control and strength in challenging situations. Another important element is social awareness. It's the ability to pick up on unspoken dynamics, body language, tone, silence, or even the energy in a room. People often reveal more in what they don't say than in what they do. Emotional intelligence allows you to notice those hidden signals and respond with sensitivity. When someone feels you can read between the lines, they develop a deeper bond with you because it shows you are not just hearing them, you are truly seeing them. Finally, emotional intelligence is about using all this awareness to build stronger, healthier connections. It transforms conversations from shallow exchanges into meaningful interactions. It turns misunderstandings into opportunities for clarity. It turns conflicts into lessons in growth. And perhaps most importantly, it creates influence without force, because people naturally trust and follow those who understand them. When you cultivate emotional intelligence, you no longer need tricks or tactics. You simply need presence, awareness, and empathy. And that combination is powerful enough to change any relationship dynamic. Confident vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood yet magnetic traits a person can embody. Many people think confidence means hiding weakness, projecting strength at all times, and never letting anyone see behind the curtain. But that isn't confidence. That's fear wearing a mask. True confidence is the ability to be real, to own your imperfections, and to show your humanity without shame. Vulnerability, when paired with strength, is not a liability. It's an invitation. It tells others, I am strong enough to be open, I am secure enough to be honest, and I am human enough to connect with you on a deeper level. That combination enough to connect with you on a deeper level. That combination of confidence and vulnerability creates trust, intimacy, and attraction in ways that bravado or perfection never could. Think about how people respond when someone admits a mistake without excuses or shares a personal struggle without self-pity. Instead of pushing others away, it draws them in. Why? Because it feels real. We live in a world where everyone tries to present polished versions of themselves, and that constant performance creates distance. When you have the courage to show vulnerability, it breaks the illusion and makes others feel safe to drop their own masks. That safety is magnetic because it creates a rare kind of connection where both people can breathe freely. The key, however, is pairing vulnerability with confidence. Vulnerability without confidence can come across as neediness, oversharing, or a cry for validation. But confident vulnerability communicates self-awareness and strength. It's the difference between saying, I'm broken, please fix me, versus I've been through challenges and I've grown from them. The first pushes people away, the second inspires them. It shows resilience. It says, yes, I have scars, but those scars are proof of survival, not symbols of weakness. Confident vulnerability also deepens respect because it demonstrates courage. It's easy to boast about victories, but it takes real strength to admit fears or failures while standing tall. That courage is what others admire because it signals integrity. When you are not afraid to show your authentic self, people know they can trust you. They know you won't hide behind lies or games, and that honesty is what creates lasting influence. In relationships, confident vulnerability is the bridge to intimacy. Opening up about your thoughts, dreams, or insecurities gives the other person permission to do the same. It turns surface-level conversations into meaningful exchanges. It transforms attraction from something shallow into something enduring. People may be impressed by perfection, but they fall in love with humanity. At its core, confident vulnerability is about balance. It's about standing firm in who you are while being unafraid to share the parts of yourself that are still growing. It's about showing strength not by pretending to have it all together, but by proving you can be open, honest, and real without losing your self-respect. And when you live in that balance, you carry an energy that draws people in, because you offer what most are secretly searching for, a space where strength and softness coexist in harmony. Active listening and reflection are skills that transform ordinary conversations into meaningful connections. Most people think they are good listeners, but in reality, they are simply waiting for their turn to speak. They nod, they smile, they give surface-level cues of attention, but internally they are rehearsing their own reply. That is not listening. That is self-focus disguised as interaction. Active listening, on the other hand, requires presence, patience, and a genuine interest in understanding the other person beyond their words. It's about giving your full attention without distractions, suspending judgment, and hearing not just what is said, but what is meant. When you practice active listening, you make the other person feel valued in a way that very few people experience. Imagine someone talking about their day, and instead of cutting them off with advice or shifting the topic to yourself, you simply allow them the space to express fully. You lean in, you maintain comfortable eye contact, and you respond only after they finish. That silence speaks volumes. It tells them that their words matter. And when people feel that their voice matters, they naturally feel closer to you. Reflection is the second part of the process. It's not enough to just listen. You must also show that you've absorbed and understood what was said. Reflection can be as simple as rephrasing what you heard. So you're saying that situation made you feel overlooked, or it sounds like that really excited you. These small reflections act like mirrors. They allow the other person to see their own feelings clearly, and they confirm that you truly understood them. Reflection is powerful because it validates emotions, and validation is something everyone craves. Active listening and reflection also prevent misunderstandings. How many conflicts arise simply because one person didn't fully hear the other? By reflecting back what you heard, you give the other person a chance to clarify, correct, or expand. This avoids unnecessary tension and builds a foundation of trust. It shows that you don't just assume, you care enough to get it right. What makes these skills so magnetic is how rare they are. In today's fast-paced world, everyone is distracted. Phones buzz, thoughts wander, and conversations often remain shallow. But when you are the person who listens deeply and reflects meaningfully, you stand out. You create an emotional experience that feels refreshing, almost healing. People will remember how you made them feel heard long after they forget the details of what was said. Active listening and reflection also strengthen your influence. When people trust that you hear them, they become more open to hearing you. Influence doesn't come from talking the loudest, it comes from understanding the deepest. The more you listen, the more insight you gain into what matters to others, and that knowledge allows you to respond with precision and empathy. These skills are about respect. They show that you value someone's thoughts and emotions enough to give them your time, your attention, and your understanding. And when you do that, you don't just communicate, you connect. That connection is what builds loyalty, trust, and attraction in ways that no clever words ever could. Consistency and boundaries are two qualities that quietly but powerfully shape how others perceive you. They are not loud or flashy, yet they are among the most attractive and respected traits a person can carry. Consistency shows reliability, while boundaries demonstrate self-respect. Together, they communicate strength, stability, and clarity, qualities that people instinctively trust and gravitate toward. Consistency is about being the same person across time and situations. It means your words align with your actions, and your actions align with your values. When you say you will do something, you follow through. When you make a promise, you keep it. When you set an expectation, you meet it. This doesn't mean perfection, it means dependability. People feel safe around those who are consistent because they know what to expect. In relationships, this safety builds trust, and trust is the foundation of attraction and respect. Without consistency, your words lose weight. If you constantly shift, break promises, or act unpredictably, people hesitate to invest in you because they cannot rely on what you say or who you appear to be. Boundaries are just as important because they define how you allow others to treat you. A person without boundaries often bends to please, tolerates disrespect, or sacrifices their own needs to avoid conflict. At first, this might seem like kindness, but over time it breeds resentment, frustration, and loss of self-respect. Boundaries, on the other hand, communicate that you value yourself enough to protect your time, your energy, and your well-being. They are not walls meant to push others away. They are gates that allow healthy, respectful relationships to enter and unhealthy ones to leave. When combined, consistency and boundaries create a powerful balance. Consistency shows that you can be trusted, while boundaries show that you cannot be taken for granted. Together, they make you someone who is both dependable and self-respecting. This balance is highly attractive because it signals maturity and strength. It shows that you don't operate out of desperation for approval. You operate from a grounded sense of self. People often test boundaries, whether consciously or unconsciously. They might push to see how much of yourself you're willing to give up or how much disrespect you're willing to tolerate. If you bend every time, you lose credibility. But when you calmly enforce your boundaries without anger or apology, you send a clear message. I respect myself, and I expect others to do the same. That firmness is not harshness, it is strength. And people are drawn to strength that is quiet, steady, and fair. Consistency and boundaries also free you from the exhausting need to perform. You don't have to constantly adjust to others' moods or expectations because you have already defined who you are and what you stand for. This steadiness creates peace within you and admiration from others. People may be impressed by charm in the short term, but in the long run, they are loyal to those they can trust and respect. Consistency earns that loyalty, and boundaries preserve it. Together, they make you unshakable. Shared values and purpose are the glue that binds relationships in ways that looks, charm, or temporary excitement never can. Attraction may begin with chemistry, but it sustains itself only when two people are aligned at a deeper level. Values shape how a person lives, makes decisions, and treats others. Purpose gives direction to life, guiding where someone is headed and what they are striving toward. When you find alignment in values and purpose, connection becomes more than just momentary. It becomes meaningful, steady, and enduring. Values are the invisible code that governs behavior. They dictate what you consider right or wrong, what you prioritize, and how you respond to life's challenges. If honesty is your value, but the other person thrives on deception, the relationship will eventually break under that tension. If loyalty matters deeply to you, but they see commitment as optional, cracks will form no matter how much attraction exists. Shared values eliminate this friction. They create harmony because both people are operating from the same foundation. That doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but on the essentials: integrity, respect, kindness, ambition, family, or whatever matters most. You must be aligned. Without this, the relationship becomes a constant negotiation of core differences. Purpose adds another dimension. Purpose is the why behind someone's life, the vision, mission, or direction they are working toward. It doesn't have to be the same purpose, but it must be complementary. For example, one person might be driven by creating impact in their career, while the other finds purpose in building a strong, supportive family. If both respect and support each other's purpose, they thrive together. But if one undermines the other's direction, resentment takes root. When two people share or align their purpose, their energy multiplies. They push each other higher, support each other's growth, and move forward with momentum instead of pulling in opposite directions. Shared values and purpose also simplify decision-making. When challenges arise, instead of arguing over every choice, both people can return to the foundation they share. What do we value? What is our purpose? These questions